My name is Bob Bowcock, and I'm an environmental investigator. I've been working with Erin Brockovich for over 20 years now. We've got a national practice wherein we consult with various community groups concerning environmental contamination and predominantly focus on drinking water concerns for communities across the country. We first encountered threats from this particular individual when he became obsessed with the fact that he had in fact done all the research at the Hinckley site. The Hinckley site is the site that, obviously made Erin famous in the year 2000 with the award given to Julia Roberts for Best Actress that year. Since then, it was probably about 2008, 2009 when we were first contacted. We didn't actually keep records about it at that time, but he would send things over like we had stolen all of his work, that we had ruined him because he had spent, millions of dollars and countless hours conducting the investigation. And quite frankly, neither one of us recall his presence or even being associated with the community. We believe he was actually, in fact, coming from the Midwest at that particular time with his, threats that we had destroyed him. It began, this is pre-social media, and the threats came in the form of email. And so email was still, in the 2000s for Erin and I, a relatively slow. It didn't give that immediate satisfaction. So we, for all intents and purposes, ignored the initial, hey, we did everything. I mean, we knew it was not true. We kind of found it amusing, but it intensified almost immediately. Perhaps it's our reflection on it, in retrospect, that it was almost immediate because of the gaps in time between actually receiving the email. We receive hundreds of emails a day, and to physically go through and find, individual threats, quite frankly, if they look, out of ordinary, they're deleted. And so we were initially just blasting through them and deleting them. But he had a relatively recognizable name. It just didn't. It started to stand out. And so we saw it in that immediate email exchange. It wasn't until after 2010 when Erin got on Facebook. We've only been on Facebook, within the last, 7 or 8 years. Prior to that, it was exclusively through emails to, Erin@brockovich.com, which both of us, go through and look for ways to help various communities. So, in, modern times, so to speak, the instant gratification that came from what would be perceived today as relatively slow responses via email picked up when we became, a presence on social media and predominantly Facebook. And that's where, the messaging intensified. And they would still come through. He would make a wise crack about something, about, how Erin Brockovich and I were frauds, that we had in fact stolen his work, that he was a great movie producer and was going to be very successful in spite of us. We didn't find that threatening. We found that, disturbing, but we didn't find it threatening. The intensity has come within the last 3 years, initially beginning with we're sort of seeing a resurgence in kind of Hinckley 3, and what I mean by that was there was the first round in the late 1990s, there was a second round in 2008, and we're finally, cleaning up and closing out, round 3 of Hinckley. And he would show up, physically and say that he had been at the meetings, and this was before we actually knew who he was, but he would give enough detail to where he had either, carefully observed photographs or was physically present at some of those town hall meetings. And that's when we started to become concerned for our safety. And so that's when we started keeping virtually all the emails. I think I probably have them back at least the last 5 years. and I think I have all of them. I wouldn't delete them. I would just literally just archive them as something. And it was because we became concerned that if anything happened to either one of us, we wanted some sort of a historical perspective on the evolution of the contacts with a particular individual. They go in almost 90-day spurts. About every 90 days, someone else will say something or say, hey, there's a problem here. And then we'll probably get, and he'll use different email addresses and different names. And it'll take you a while, but now we've got probably about 16 different names that we recognize that are his, and those emails get cataloged as well. It became perhaps the most violent after we were asked by another documentary filmmaker whom had been threatened to do a declaration for the court. And the declaration for the court was quite simply a document that said, we're familiar with this individual, that he had been harassing us for a number of years, that we were concerned for our safety, and that, if called upon to testify, we would represent these things to be, truth and factual. From there, it intensified for probably about a 6-month period of, he literally would send me photographs of my grandchildren and say, oh, I hope Park City was fun this week, and things like that. It was a stalking. It became very, very disturbing, so much so that I've actually not even communicated a lot of what's going on with my family because I don't want to, upset them to the extent Erin and I have become upset. Most recently, he's doctored photographs of, family events. He recently put a very large silicone male appendage in my father's mouth for his 75th birthday, and emailed that to us. So, I don't know whether you would consider that violent or not, but when you put them in context with all the other threats of I'm going to meet you in the street, to I'm in Hollywood now, I'm going to come down off the mountain and get you, just crazy nonsense. And I don't believe he was ever even, within 100 miles of us when he was making those claims or those quotes. But he's very effective at not only causing the threats to become concerning, but he's also very good at stalking. And it's an obsession in that he continues to focus on where we're at and what we're doing, and, insinuates or threatens that he will be showing up at that next event. And because we're public figures and we advertise where we're at, that's always bringing the concern a little closer to home. He actually would challenge you to, fights in the street. I'm not sure where these events were supposed to take place or what he was intending to do, but they were actually, physical threats. And it causes you a little bit of concern. I know it really bothers Erin considerably. And like I said, I don't even share it with my family because I don't want them to be concerned with me when I do the travel that I do. It's concerning. There was an incident recently where he found himself in a bar fight in Iowa, and from how he draws the connection between Erin and I, and his personal problems and the personal altercations that he finds himself in, but somehow we ultimately collectively all take the blame for everything that goes wrong in his life. And what happens, he wants to intensify and redirect back to us, in that if he was in a fight, he's going to fight us. If you look at his writings, it's always, Erin and Bob. He's called me her, a number of derogatory terms. Pretty much I'm her bitch. But other than that, I am the calmer one of the two, and so I have a tendency to I just catalog the email. I don't even read them anymore. Erin just deletes them immediately. She gets very frustrated. When we travel, I travel with her as often as I can, but she does a lot of traveling by herself. She has her own speaking engagements across the country, across the world. She's going for 3 weeks to Australia. And, so this is the type of thing that causes her concern. So our relationship isn't different. Quite frankly, I don't know that I would be part of it if I were not associated with Erin. His fascination is with her. I'm just the associate or the kind of a surrogate Erin, for his concern. I think when he figured out that, perhaps he couldn't be her, maybe he was me. I don't know. Okay. Well, what it was there, I think it was Jane who initially, the cyberstalker has literally got a series of web pages. And I think he's got one, superfund.org or something like that, where he just basically cut and pasted things off of EPA websites and things. And he actually blogs about us. And I don't know whether she saw it in that blog or in something, but at the time it was an incident involving something that happened in Virginia. And she reached out to us, and I said, hey, look, here's my phone number, give me a call. And her and I conversed about that. I think then she made the connection with Peter in Ohio, and Peter was the documentary filmmaker who literally, asked, it got so severe for him, he'd actually, attempted prosecution and was seeking the court declaration. And so the others that have been victims of this particular cyberstalker have reached out to us. Through social media, it's relatively easy to do. And so I've spoken probably over the last 5 or 6 years with, each of the people that have come together and are attempting to share information, collaborate, and attempting to get this stopped. I don't know that it's intentional. I don't know that it's I wouldn't want to credit him with being that smart. I literally think that when a person like this falls off the grid, so to speak, I think it's truly due to lack of financial ability to get tracked. We're a society that is tracked by our financial connections, and I don't believe he has the financial wherewithal to do much other than sit behind a computer and stalk and harass people. He professes to be traveling around the country. He professes to, be eating nice steak dinners in places. But, you can look at those photographs and many of them are, canned things you can cut and paste off the internet. I do think he makes his way around, but, I think he's, unfortunately very much a disconnected, perhaps homeless individual who gets just enough financial assistance to be, a bother. I don't know that he has the financial wherewithal to accomplish much, but I don't think that what he's doing is strategic. I think it's just part of the condition of his lifestyle. Yeah, I think that, the concentrated effort that's been put upon him with all of us communicating, all of us sharing, how quickly we were able to get the correct information out about what happened in Iowa, where, we could have added more victims to our rolls. He was literally shut down immediately by our efforts, and I think that's boxed him in. He has been relatively quiet, but then I didn't see the Twitter that he posted about Erin and I today until it was pointed out to me. So, I will tell you with this current environmental thing that's unfolding in Florida right now, we got 4 million emails this week. So yeah, I can tell you this individual probably has lost emails and or lost messages in and amongst that 4 million. I don't think we'll be able to get to 10%. That's what puts us at the extreme disadvantage of everybody else. We don't see it all. And what we do see, like I say, he's dumb enough to email me at my professional email address. So I just dump those in a catalog. Yeah, I'm cynical about the present condition in the United States and the law enforcement of this type of activity. I mean, I think that we've all seen evidence around the country with the recent mass shootings that these are people that have been tracked for years and virtually nothing was done. These people are on watch lists and nothing is done. I've encountered it in the Los Angeles area here where I live. We have 35,000 mentally ill homeless on the streets, and nothing's being done. So call me cynical, but I don't think anything's going to happen to this individual short of him either physically harming someone or picking the wrong person to physically harm, and he will be beat to death by some third party. And I quite frankly, I think that street justice is about the only thing that's working in the United States today. And it's sad, but true. Do not respond. Do not respond, do not respond, do not respond. When he went off, I made the mistake myself of responding one time. And Erin scolded me for it. But he basically made a threat, intimating that he had been stalking myself and my grandson. And when he went after my grandson, I lost it. And so I did respond. And it incited him. He had fun for a while. And I think that's what he thrives on. I mean, I was talking about how I scroll. Just this year, I've got 71 emails from him that I was able to find and catalog through the mess of what we are. I literally think you can, in the United States today, I think you can all but slit somebody's throat before they'll even do anything to you. It's really scary out there right now. I just don't think, I think with our jails overflowing, I think that they let things go to the ridiculous and extreme, which is why you see the tide turning the way it's turning. And it's not in a good way. I think it's a very unfortunate situation we find ourselves in law enforcement in the United States. And I don't know what the solution is. I mean, for crying out loud, Erin and I do environmental stuff, criminal activity and the judicial system are not the type of thing we're involved in. And but personally, and looking what we've experienced and looking at what the rest of the country's dealing with, and that this guy is able to, when you can literally walk down any city block or any town in the United States and the Kohl's department store chain or the Target department store chain know more about the people living in those homes than the police, we've got a cultural problem. We've got a political problem. We've got a societal problem. It's the information that we're generating about our population is political and economic and spending habit type data. It's not about the fact that, who's a nut job living next door that's going to, go shoot up the school next Thursday. And until we address that, people like this are just going to continue to exist.